Hi everyone, welcome to the Chronicles of Corona. This time we're interviewing a place. This place has its own personality. It's an amazingly sacred place, and it is called N-Sid-Sen. It's out here near Harrison, Idaho. It is a camp with the United Church of Christ, and everyone comes here. Here you'll find Sufis and fiddlers, quilters, and young people. It's a place of inspiration. It's a place that goes back before recorded history as a spiritual place. It's a place to come and feel that sense in solitude, a sense of healing. It is N-Sid-Sen. So we're in the Chronicles of Corona, and we're visiting with N-Sid-Sen. Mark Boyd, the managing director, will be the voice of N-Sid-Sen for us. And N-Sid-Sen has already chosen their heroic name, and their heroic name is?
Inspiration.
And why is that, Mark?
Because N-Sid-Sen means point of inspiration. This is the place where the Coeur d'Alenes would come and gather as a tribe before they moved on up to Cataldo with the rest of the tribes for potlatch, and they would share. And they would stop here overnight, and the young folk would climb to the top of the hill, and they would be at that point in their age where they would be seeking to know more about who they are and who they're going to become. All of those questions that hang with us as we grow. And as they would come off the shore, imagine a young man running around to the elders and saying, "Is this the place? Is this the time?" And they would scoot him off and say, "Not now, little one. Can't you see we're unloading?" So he would run to the next one. "Is this the place? Is this the time? Is this where I'm supposed to figure out who I am and where I'm going?" "Not now, little one. Can't you see I'm building a fire?" And the young man would become dejected and feeling really bad because no one was answering him. And so he saw his grandfather, and he ran over to his grandfather and says, "Grandfather, grandfather, can't you, is this the place? Is this the time for me to discover who I am to be?" And his grandfather said, little one, can't you see I'm with the elders?" So he shuffles his feet and wanders off, and then he sees grandmother. He says, "Grandmother, grandmother, is this the place?" And before he can even finish saying it, she said, "Now is the time, little one. Now is the place. Go climb the hill. What will I find? Go climb the hill. What will I do? Go climb the hill." So he runs off and he climbs up and up and up, and he gets all the way to the very top, and he sits and he waits. All day he sits and he waits. And then it starts to get dark, and he hears all the night sounds coming in around him, and he sits and he waits. And it gets really dark, and the stars come out and the night owls come out, and he sits and he waits. And at some point in the early morning hours, that still small voice speaks to him, and he can feel it from deep inside as it comes all the way up inside and fills his entire being. And he jumps up with delight and runs all the way back down, all the way down the hill, all the way down to where the folks are gathered for their morning meal. And he says, "Grandmother, grandmother, I know who I am to be. I know what I am supposed to do." And she said, "Well, of course, little one. You've just had your N-Sid-Sen, or your point of inspiration." N-Sid-Sen, through the eyes of inspiration, has always seen this place as a sacred space for sanctuary and solitude. So in that sense, we welcome that solitude. And we invite people to come out here and experience N-Sid-Sen in a very different way, without all of the high energy and folks running around and lots of things happening. Come as small family units and gather and embrace the solitude. Find the sanctuary within yourself and within this place. It was here long before we shined our white faces on this place, and it will be here long after. N-Sid-Sen has always believed in the inspiration of the area and the community that we're sitting in. And so we recognize that community by honoring and welcoming those folks around us to come wander, to come spend some time on the property, when no one else is able to come here. And we do this not only during COVID times, but also during other slower times. We invite those first responders in the area, which all but 2 or 3 of them are volunteers, to come out and spend some time here with a picnic with their family, or just to wander the trails. We also host some of their events along with the high school proms. So the community that we sit in is that small piece there, which is representative of the much bigger community that we sit in, that we live in, that we call this world. So we recognize that and think that's important, and try to work with our sister camps around the lake and around the country.
And how are they doing?
Each camp is doing a little differently, because they all have different things to struggle with. There are some camps, like our sister camp, Pilgrim Firs in Port Orchard, is a site for those folks that are being quarantined or isolated, working with some homeless folks and some folks that may not necessarily be homeless, but are because they're not able to share their abode with people they live with because of the contagion they may have. That's one of the things that's happening. There's camps around the country that are doing different things. Silver Lake in Connecticut is inviting folks to come in and wander their trails on a daily basis. They're in a much smaller or closer urban setting, so they can do some of that. But there's a variety of things happening around the country with camps, and how they're doing it. There are some camps doing what we're doing, families at camp and welcoming families out. There are other camps that are just decided they're going to do everything, and they do what they call Camp in a Box. So they are mailing boxes of camp type materials and games and ideas to families, recognizing that their site doesn't work to have anybody on at all. And there's some camps that are really struggling right now, and that's scary. That's really frightening to know that some camps are not going to make it out of this. You know, as camps, we make our money when the sun shines, and when we have camps, their only season is in the summer because they're up too high. You can't get at them in the winter. They need this in.
So Camp in a Box, what a cool idea.
There's some wonderful ideas out there. The curriculum that we use, just before it came out, they came up with a thing called Camp at Home. On our website, you'll see some links on there for all of the youth camps and family camps to go participate in with them on some online opportunities, as well as some things to be able to share with your family, questions for the dinner table, campfire stories, songs, crafts. There's all kinds of wonderful things on there. So check out that stuff. You'll find some amazing resources that counselors and directors have worked really hard to put together. And it's all on our website.
And does it come with a request for donation, or is it just out there?
That particular piece does not cost you anything other than your time, and we would most definitely appreciate some donations to keep N-Sid-Sen, because one of the things we're working on right now is to keep N-Sid-Sen and Pilgrim Firs both here into 2021, and not just January, because remember, we make our money in the summer, so we need to keep our camps open until June of next year, when we can start resuming some of our larger camps. That's our goal, and with your help and your donations, we can make this camp, your home on the lake, here for a long time.
And what about the international connection? N-Sid-Sen has staff in the summer who come from around the world, who have camps that come here from around the world. What are you hearing from them?
That's sad. There's some very sad stories around that. We obviously were not able to do camps, so we're not able to bring in our summer staff, our local and our international. Talking with our international associates, they're really struggling right now. When Trump came into office, they started cutting back on the J-1 visas. They are now talking about eliminating that program entirely, which is putting some of these associations that work on getting college-age students into camps around the country. I mean, this is a $5 billion industry that may not be there because of some of those changes. It's hard to hear that. It's even harder to hear when I have former staff from Turkey and Poland and Ukraine asking how we are doing, because they're concerned with what they're seeing, and they're doing better than we are. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it should be a competition. but it's scary to hear them be concerned with how we're doing. So internationally, the world is doing better than we are. We need to continue to work together in all of these places. And I think N-Sid-Sen, and I think camps in general have that model, that they welcome everybody. They welcome people of all different walks and faiths and beliefs. It's not in the summer, in our year, we will have the Buddhists and the Sufis and the Catholics and the Unitarians, along with a whole bunch of the smaller town churches. Trying to think of the right word for that. Some of the local churches will have some of those folks coming out here and holding some of their events. That's what camps are about. And again, that's why I think these are a reflection of the bigger world as it could be.
So the Sufis, aren't they your largest group? Are they, or is it a different one?
It's an interesting way of how you look at that. If you look at it by numbers, the Catholic men have the biggest number. They're only here for a weekend. The Sufis are here now at 2 different times, for a week one time and Memorial Day weekend as well. So they're here for roughly about a week and a half at 2 different times, along with about 3 different small retreats that the Sufis lead. The Buddhists have just started coming out for an extended weekend. I say just, probably 2 years ago. And they run about 50 to 60. The Unitarian women will fill this place up, 120 of them, and it's just fantastic. The Unity comes out here as well. So there's a lot of different ones. As far as largest, the Lady of the Lake, our dance camp, would be our largest single unit group. They come 3 different times with varying numbers. They have a history of being here with us for almost 35 years.
And you have quilters and fiddlers too, right?
We have quilters. We have 4 different quilting groups that come. We have one of our largest quilting group comes out of the Palouse. There's actually one of their members who flies out from France to be with us. She was is French, but she spent a lot of time in the Palouse, and so she comes out with them. And then we have some of the local churches, and even a local East Side quilting group that comes out. So we have those. The fiddlers come out with the dance camps. This place we're sitting in right now is the pavilion. Right now, this place would be full of dancers and fiddlers and musicians and callers. This space we would not be sitting here right now. It would be a little tight, which is what it's all about. But we have many different groups that come out and use this place. Monastery schools come out to use the place. There's just a myriad of different options.
So who is here right now?
At this point, and here holding the things down are myself, our 2 year-round staff, our maintenance and our cook. Unfortunately, both of those folks will be laid off the 15th of July until we can bring things back up. And we have a couple of amazing young folks who would have been hired for our summer staff this year. And when we called and said, sorry, we're not able to do that, they graciously volunteered to give of their time. And that is an incredible gift. I also recognize they get to get away from their parents for a while. So there's that plus too on both parts. But seriously, in all honesty, to have them give up their time is immeasurable, and it speaks of the love that people have for this place.
So how are you as the director taking care of yourself under all this stress?
The famous self-care question.
Yeah, right?
It's a difficult one. Right now there's so many things going on because I first thought, well, we're not going to have camp, so I'll have all this time. Not at all the case. There's actually more things to do, the campaign, putting things online, trying to figure out how things work. So to answer that question, I work really hard not to jump up and get into work first thing in the morning like I do, spend some time with my lovely wife, to do those kinds of things, try to see if I can shorten the day at times, and just enjoy where I'm sitting. I am looking forward to the fall when I believe I will have some more time, some more downtime. It's hard because one of the things we used to do an awful lot, my wife and I, for downtime, is we would leave. We would go visit somewhere, so we'd go travel. That's not happening right now. So it's a little harder to get away when you're already there.
So how can people in the friends and family of N-Sid-Sen be supportive of you?
There's two ways to do that, and I'm going to continue to plug the campaign because that's a huge source of anxiety and concern for us. So that's one way to give it. Another way, give us a call. Talk to us. Ask us how we're doing. Come on out. And let's visit from a distance. One of the incredible gifts that we have during this time of social distancing is we have 300 acres. I think we can social distance here. You know, so take advantage of those opportunities. Give us a call. Come on out. Pop us an email.
So being able to give financially, can you talk about the anxiety about the finances?
One of my colleagues, because this is something, of course, that's happening in camps all across the country, all across the world. One of my colleagues reminded us in a conference call not too long ago that what's happening with the camps is not our fault. And that's something we need to be reminded of, because it's really easy to get into that trap of, you know, if I don't have a good year or some problem happens, that there's something that I wasn't doing or I should have been paying attention to. And I'm trying to remind myself that COVID has nothing to do with that. And it's easy for me to tell other people that. So I need to remember what he was telling me. The anxiety around it is the camps have been mostly self-supporting for a long, long time. And I say mostly because we still have incredible help from the conference. Andy, the financial person on our conference, gives an incredible amount of time and his support to the camps. Mike and Courtney give a whole bunch of time to it. Mike and Courtney are our conference ministers. Arlene, the administrator, gives some time to it. So it's not fair to say we don't get any support. However, we are responsible for making sure that these camps are staying in the black. This year, we're going to be trying to make sure we can keep the lights on and keep bills paid just to keep the camps here. The reality of it is, in 2021, we are not going to be back at full capacity. People are going to be leery, and rightly so. People are not going to have money. And so we know that it's going to be a slow start in many ways, and in ways we have no idea how to imagine. So the anxiety is there quite a bit, and when something happens and we need to do some maintenance that's going to pop up no matter what you do, then we're trying to figure out how to make that work. So that's the intention of raising the $200,000 for N-Sid-Sen, is to get us through so that we can be ready for 2021.
Because that's what it costs, with property tax, with repairs, with the small amount of staff.
Correct.
That's what it costs to.
Absolutely.
It's the same, just electricity and all of those things that any other household needs. This is 300 acres of expenses.
Correct.
And golly.
Yeah, if we have a tree come down, then we have to deal with that.
Yep. So, what is any other advice or insight that you would like people out there in the land of COVID, in the land of the pandemics, of all the ones we're facing, that you'd like people to know about?
When we first started to look at our camps and Chronicles, so let me say, I'm on the National Board for Outdoor Ministries. So as part of that board, we started to ask the question about what are we looking at? What advice, what information, what's the resources can we give to some of the camps? And the thing that kept coming up is, don't forget to take advantage of a good crisis. And what I mean by that is that as we look at our camps now, we've got some downtime. This is the time to look at the camp in a different way. This is the time to look at your site, look at your space. It doesn't have to be a camp. It could be anywhere you're at. And the thing that you've walked by 100 times because you're never going to get to it, you got the time now. This is the time to look at those things, those systems that you have in place. Which ones are working and which ones have you just continue to do it because you've always done it that way? What are those ones you've wanted to tweak? What's your overall goal? Is your mission working? Is it correct? Is it where it should be? This is the time to be able to take that time, to step back, to breathe, to look at what's next. Because maybe getting back on track exactly how we were doing it isn't the right thing to do anymore. That's my advice. That's my inspiration.
And to take advantage of the solitude and the sacredness of that, the sanctuary that is here, and the sanctuary, if you can find it within yourself. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being the voice of N-Sid-Sen for this Chronicles of Corona.
My pleasure.
It's a really good story for you guys. So it was my first year out here, I think. First year. First summer working out here, and I was over swimming by the floating dock, and I looked down, and there's this like ball, like maybe the size of my fist. It's like white. I can see it from the surface, but I have really bad eyesight, even with my glasses on sometimes. But so I decided I'm not gonna go get it because that sounds like a lot of work, and I can't see it. So, luckily for me, my younger sister at that time had better eyesight and didn't have to wear glasses like a nerd. And Mom come out to visit. Mom also wears glasses.
Like a nerd.
Like a nerd. So I decide, you know what? I really want to know what that is. I have someone here who can see very well, or better than me.
And gets abused by their bigger brother
is my
all
little
the time.
sister, so I can convince her to do things for me through trickery and swindling. And so I decided to make a challenge out of it. I'm like, oh, Hannah, let's see who can go get it. I want to know what this thing is. I think it's a tennis ball. I think it's a baseball. Oh, let's see who can get
But
it.
he can't see, so he's not gonna get it.
Yeah, I can't see at all. I can't see on land.
I'm a big chump, and we start diving. We go in, and at the end, it ends up Henry goes something like, "I can't see, just go keep diving for it." So I'm a big chump, and I just keep diving for it, and eventually I get it, and I bring it up, and I'm freaking out because it's all slimy and gross.
It's
and
an egg.
like, yeah, it's an egg. Turns out it's an egg, and so I give it to him, and he takes it, and like he's not rational about it. He's like, I don't want it, and he chucks it at me.
And here. It's about the size of my fist, right? So it's not very big. It's not very small. It's like a baseball. It's a large tennis ball.
When it came flying at me,
hold
it
in your
was
hand.
pretty big.
So I do it like a gentle lob, like a two-handed lob.
It was a very ferocious,
gentle.
it was a panicked
It was a
chuck.
pass. Okay, I pitched it at her at 70 miles an hour.
Possibly.
However, she, with her cat-like reflexes, swings her arms open like, you know when you went to a museum and you could measure your wingspan against a bird? Like, this is what you did. You went, whoa, full wide, and boom! It just splatters it. The egg goes everywhere. And she was ready. She came in at Mach 7 and just boom!
I did not do that.
Everywhere.
No, he's a big liar. I defended myself from the 70 miles per hour ball.
With a massive clap.
Strange. We don't even know what animal this is or how long it's been down there, if the mama's gonna come and eat us. And so I defended myself, and then it splattered all over me. So I'm covered in egg, and I'm like, what do I do? Look to my big brother for help. Right? He has dove off the floating dock and is swimming away. Like I
don't want to be eaten by an alligator.
Some sort of like pandemic disease on me, and he's just trying to escape me. So of course in panic, I go back. And so our theory is there's an alligator, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna come and eat me because I broke their egg.
Killed their egg.
They killed their egg. So we're
With
pretty sure
a
there's an
violent
alligator.
clap.
It wasn't meant to be violent. It was self-defense.
And how many alligators are known in Lake Coeur d'Alene?
We found the
One.
teeth.
We did find a tooth.
You found the tooth of an
Our sister-
alligator?
The theory is that it lives in the boathouse.
Yes, we believe it lives in the boathouse.
Don't ask me why.
We
And
have a source,
so-
and we've checked it.
Uh-huh.
Yes, yeah, we do have a source. Yeah, we
have a
do.
source.
We have a reliable source who said yes, it lives in the boathouse.
Uh-huh.
And
His
we
name is
found
Tom.
a tooth. Yeah, we found a tooth. Mark said it might be a rock, but I don't believe that. We believe that the tooth, he bit into something and the tooth got dulled on the side and erosion and
It's like
stuff.
this. It's like a
Yeah, it looks like a tooth and it's white. Which
And it's white. It looks like a tooth that could be a rock.
it's an alligator.
It's definitely a tooth.
It's definitely an alligator tooth that looks something like a rock.
Yes.
That's just a disguise.
Rock on, dude.
All right. Okay, I want to know the story of the baby moose.
That sucks.
Too bad you didn't record the first time.
Your free trial has ended. Please pay me. I'm not joking. So I was going down the river one day on the float trip. I think it was last year. some year like that, last year, maybe the year before. But we're going down, and if you've never been on the float trip, it gets really stretched out really easily. So the person in front is usually Mark in a canoe, and the person in back is someone else in a canoe. The distance between them at this spot was probably like 100 meters, 100 or 200 meters. It was a nice stretch, and it's this long stretch, and there's grass, high grass on the ends, or on the sides. At the end, there's this big old turn with some automotive junk at the bottom. And so a bunch of people are going around this turn, and we get maybe 3/4, half of the way, half of the people through that turn, and a baby moose just comes and just bolts it through us, just doesn't care, he's just going. And I talked to someone after that, and they said, yeah, I could have reached out and touched it. But then baby moose means there's a mama moose somewhere. So that's what instant panic mode, because mama moose is a lot bigger, a lot scarier than baby moose. But we don't see one. We don't see another baby moose. We don't see a mama moose. We don't see a daddy moose. It's just a little baby moose that bolts it across. And so we keep going down, and then we look over behind us, like he came from right to left, and we look back at our left side, and we see him just sticking his head out, just watching us, just having a good old time. I think he gets like a sip of water, but I don't think mama moose ever showed herself. But,
So the baby moose went to camp.
Yeah, he was dropped off by his parents.
Hannah, what about the ghost in the craft room?
Okay, so there's a ghost in the craft. That's the story.
End of story. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you for attending.
coming. That'll be $20. No, so there's yes. So there's this clock in the craft room that is on. So there's a door, and then there's like some of the shelves, and then the wall. And there's a clock that's always hung up there. And so every time it's hung up, for some reason, it's either like taken down, it disappears, it goes away. There's something that happens to it.
No one else is here.
Yeah, no one else is here. So this has happened throughout the years. So like when people have been here, so that could have been the reason. But Mark recently rehung a clock with a new hook and everything. And I was down there because I was printing some new shirts that say like honored volunteer on them and stuff. Alone for a lot of it. So after he told me this, I was very scared. But the clock had been taken down from the wall and was set down on the table underneath, and then the hook was completely gone. And so there are people here, but no one is allowed to go into other buildings besides the one they're renting. And so no one's been down there. No one could have moved it. And so there's a ghost. There's also a really creepy like back room, which I'm pretty sure the ghost
called the
originated.
dungeon.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the ghost houses in there and then comes out and is like, art is timeless or something, and takes the
Art
clock
is
away.
timeless.
Art is timeless, because I think that the clock always makes like all kids leave when it's like lunchtime or snack time, so they leave based on the clock. So when the clock's not there, then they can't leave.
Okay, what's new out here at camp that you want to be sure everybody knows about?
Cabin 8's gone.
Cabin 8 is gone.
What happened to Cabin 8?
A tree fell on them.
But
But
the wood from Cabin 8 is being repurposed into tent platforms. So behind the bathhouse, there's this like fire road where people can drive up their cars. Along that road, it's pretty much goes bathhouse, road, meadow. Before the meadow, there are these flat areas where Mark and I, and then some of the previous work camps have been making these tent platforms. They're pretty snazzy.
They're really nice.
They're really nice for just watching the clouds go by.
They were on flat places that were originally there. They weren't made before. So what Mark thinks is that before the camp had wanted to put other cabins there, but never got to it. So now I'm going to be tent platforms, and then Cabin 8 will be returning at some point. But who knows when?
Yeah.
And then there's the fireboat house.
That was already here. It's not good.
It's pretty new. There's a new sign on it though that says N-Sid-Sen on it, and it's really pretty. But in the fireboat house lives the alligator, so I wouldn't suggest going
The
in.
alligator. Yes. Tom
told us that.
Tom told us. Yeah. We should name him after
Reliable
Tom.
source. Tom the second. Timothy.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
You sure there's nothing else you want to tell? What about the
That's what I
food?
want to tell.
There's food. So
There's food.
There's food. Yep. So when you choose to stay here, you can choose to order food and cook it in your own
Oh, there are people.
cooking places, or bring your own food. And the food's pretty good.
So what's on the menu?
Pizza, lasagna, shepherd's
Soup,
pie,
cookies,
soup, cookies,
cornbread,
Hana's snacks,
chili. Not my snacks.
no chili.
There's chili.
Pretty sure there's chili. Get him, Tinker. Yeah, that's it.